What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the Tesla Spine, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers, and break down what's going on with the economic calendar thus far, what's happening with some very important earnings, and some very important things to be watching for. But before I break into all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to Tesla. Tesla has this option that's attempting to be established right over here. We're going to be watching to see if Tesla gets a rejection or not. I'm going to break down how I think this might end up panning out and some very important things to be watching for. Now, when it comes to the economic calendar, at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Index come out. We'll be watching to see what this causes. Then at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the 3-month and 6-month bill auctions coming out. So we'll be watching all of these just to see how things end up looking. So make sure you're prepared and very, very careful when it comes to this news. Now, a couple of things to know before the market opens. The main driving factors in the markets right now have been just a couple of big tickers. The Fed, which many people are saying has succeeded in its push to curb inflation without triggering a recession so far, will give us their next updates. But don't forget, guys, there's still the risk of the recession to be announced soon. So don't necessarily become too comfortable. That's one of the things I would warn you guys about. But investors are going to get ready for the FOMC meeting very, very soon in just a couple of days. Make sure you're ready for that. We have a lot of big tech earnings, as I went over earlier. Don't forget that, today we just had SoFi. I'll be talking about SoFi for a second. But for Tuesday, we have Pfizer, GM, and a few others, Microsoft, AMD, and Alphabet after market close. And Thursday is going to be a big day as we have Apple, Amazon, and Meta all announcing their earnings. That's going to be very big for now for the tech week. Boeing is going to be reporting its earnings as there's going to be a lot of questions about their 737 MAX program after their shares have dropped 20% this year, after a panel blew out of the 737 MAX. So that's going to be very important. We'll be watching that as well. Some big pharmaceutical companies, including two that will report earnings this week, may have to get crafty to stay competitive. So we'll be watching to see what happens and how their earnings look. Besides that, that's pretty much it affecting the markets in terms of news. For SoFi, they're actually up very, very nicely right now as they had a pretty good looking earnings report. You can see right here that their net revenue up 35% year over year. Everything else was quite good. And their projected growth, especially going into next year, it was actually not too bad. Guidance was pretty good too. That's the adjusted net revenue of about 560 $1 million. So that's a nice improvement as well. And we can see the growth we have right here in revenue based on projections. And this is the first time we had a profitable quarter for them. So not bad from SoFi. This is why they're up very, very nicely with continued growth of over 40% in total members and products. This is good news for them and their efficiency. So bullish for SoFi. What else is going on with the news? When it comes to what's happening to Tesla, I didn't see too much news coming out. Elon Musk is saying that the Tesla Optimus Lab looks like something out of Westworld, which is pretty funny. They're still working on improvements. There's a video that came out of the Optimus bot folding some clothes, so that's good for it. And then there's also this news coming out right here about how the upgraded Tesla Model 3 performance is poised for a Q2 launch. That's great news for Tesla. This was delayed a bit, but it is what it is, guys. Now we're going to just talk about how Tesla's looking. So in terms of volatility in the share price, here are some very important levels to be watching for. If Tesla tries to start pushing and break some of the 185 area, there's a minor resistance on 186 and 187.5 is where we have stronger resistance, where this trend line happens to be. If we break above 187.5, there's a potential push to 190 that could be coming. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 184.4. If we lose the 184 is the support right here. Our next target is 182.5, this previous low. If we lose this, we have to try to hold 180 because 180 is going to be very pivotal for Tesla. If we lose it, there's going to be a risk of 175. What do I think Tesla's going to do? Right now, I see Tesla basically approaching this support. Generally, when we open, Tesla tends to actually pop. So it happened for one day. We might see Tesla try to pop upon open, grab a little bit of liquidity in the 186s, and the move might end up failing, like up here in this resistance, come back down, kind of trade sideways in the 184s. But there's a chance we could lose this support, drop a little bit lower towards the 182s because of the market potentially selling off a bit, which could drag Tesla down. So just be a little bit careful. So I think it might pop and then drop and trade a very sideways. And I don't know if we're going to hold the 184 area. We could lose it because of the market selling off. So be a little bit careful. I'll be breaking down more details about this. So be careful with Tesla, guys. Look for a pop upon open, a drop and sideways price action, and possibly a bigger drop if we end up seeing the market drag it down. So I just want you guys to be very careful for this morning. What do I see for SPY? SPY has a potential head and shoulders like structure being established. Make sure you watch resistance at 487.5 to 488. If we break 488, watch the highs we made previously. That's going to be very key. For support, make sure you watch basically 486.8 and then 486. If we lose 486, I think there's a good chance we're going to be approaching 484.5 all the way down where this whole wick is. So how do I think this is going to pan out? This resembles a head and shoulders, and we kind of rejected off this back test. So we were ping-ponging off the yellow line, bounced, 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 broke below it, retested it, and we rejected so far. So I want to be very careful. I think we were going to push a little bit. We could even backtest this trend line one more time, but I think eventually we're going to be making a move down to 486 over the next day or two. I see 486 coming. And if we lose that, 484.5 is next. So there's going to be a risk of some downside, guys. Be very careful. That's the most likely possibility. We could try to rebound once we hit support, but watch and see if we do end up getting that fall. I do favor that a little bit more, so watch that very carefully. On the QQQ, we have resistance at 425. We have support 424, not to mention gap support at 423.5, and we have 422.5 below that, followed by 421. This looks like it's going to kind of pop a little bit and then eventually make its way down to fill this gap at 423.5. So watch that carefully on the QQQ. There's a very good chance that's going to play out. On Nvda, Nvidia has the same thing. If we're bullish, you want to break 617-ish. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 610 and eventually hit 607, 602. So this kind of resembles like a cup. This is resembling kind of like a handle. And we have like a double top here. We have this top here, another top here. We also have this gap to fill below. So it looks like, to me, Nvidia might kind of grab liquidity and come back down to fill this gap to at least 610. So a little move to the downside is coming. And then, if we lose it, we could be making a full measured move down to 607. If we lose 607, our next target is 602. There's a good chance that this is forming kind of like an inverse cup and handle. NVIDIA has some downside coming. So just be a little bit careful, guys. We might pop upon open, then drop. That's the most likely possibility. Watch your levels just to be safe. Finally, for Apple stock, Apple's very similar, in my opinion, because when you look at Apple, we also have this downtrend that's been established. You can also draw a wedge here, but for now, I'm not going to be too concerned about that yet because we still have the gap to fill down here around 191. If we're bullish, you want to break 192.5, 193.5, and then 194.4 are our resistance levels. For bearish, when I lose 192, we have a gap to fill at 191.28, and 190.5 is our next target. In my opinion, I think that we're going to shuffle a bit in the 192s and eventually break down to fill the gap at 191.25, and eventually 190.5 is coming. So I favor the downside a bit more in the markets. Make sure you watch your levels carefully and be careful with Tesla. Let's hope it tries to hold the 184 range. It might pop upon open, pop in, then drop and trade sideways, but we could get dragged a bit lower because of the market, so be careful with Tesla. With that being said, have a great day, guys. Enjoy the pre-market trading session. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you and peace out.